So this morning I woke up freaking early for school and drove to school by bike, and it was bloody cold, and then I arrive at school and surprise, the teacher didn't turn up. So now that I have lots of free time, I decided I'd do my January book wrap-up. So without much further ado, I'll just show you all the lovely books I read in January. Now the first book, I didn't necessarily read all of it in January, but I finished the majority of it in January, so I'm just gonna make that count. That book is Inferno by Dan Brown, and I had to get my hands on this because I absolutely adore Dan Brown. I read two other books of his. The first one that I ever read was Angels and Demons, and that had me hooked because, I don't know, I love like intellectual novels like that really make you think and that are really fascinating. And the other book of his I read was The Da Vinci Code, which was equally as fascinating, so I had high hopes for this book. Inferno wasn't quite as fascinating or gripping as, say, Angels and Demons or The Da Vinci Code, because I'm just fascinated, literally fascinated by the themes of the Da Vinci Code, like the number phi and everything like that. And this book is more about the WHO, World Health Organization, which isn't really my field of interest, but it was nonetheless very fascinating. The only thing that bothered me about this book was that the end wasn't really very satisfying. Other than that, awesome book. The next book I read is Horns by Joe Hill, which looks like this and has Daniel Radcliffe on the cover. Oh my gosh. And it was a present from you, Stefan, so I'm going to give you some feedback on how I like this book. Now, I'm pretty sure this is a thriller. It has kind of elements of horror in it, and it's not something I would usually read because I know I get nightmares very easily, and to be honest, this book did creep me out, but I couldn't put it down because it was so good. What I really liked about this book was that it had a very original plot and original ideas, which I guess when reading thrillers you get kind of the same plot and ideas. It's always just blood and gruesome and killing people. This book actually had a lot of thought behind it. Now to the writing style of the book and the language, it's very informal, so it's kind of I guess how the protagonist would speak himself, and he is quite rude and vulgar sometimes, but in the case of this book it actually just contributed to the amazingness of it. Again, the ending wasn't really satisfying, so the next book I'm going to tell you about that I read this month, it was Love at First Sight. Isn't that beautiful? It's called Wildwood, and it's written by Colin Malloy, and his partner Carson Ellis did the illustrations, and oh my gosh, look at those illustrations, they are so beautiful. And also I love the way this book is bound, because it's got like the raw binding where you can see where the edges of the book have been like kind of cut off. I don't know if you can see that. I don't know if that's just the kind of cheaper version of the book, because this was only like €7.50, but I really like that kind of book binding style, I guess, and I just love the illustrations. There's like kind of illustrations throughout the book, and to be honest, I have really missed reading books with illustrations, which is probably kind of childish, but look, stuff like that. And then there's also colour plates, find one quickly, like this one here and there, and they are absolutely gorgeous, and I think the style of illustration really fits the story, which is amazing as well, because there's a forest and talking animals wearing clothes. I mean, hello, is there anything more amazing than that? I don't think so. And to contribute to that, there is also, there's a map. I don't think a book can get any more amazing than that. So obviously I had to get the second book. Now the illustrations in this book are equally as wonderful, except they're a bit more sinister because the plot of the book and the story is a bit more serious and not as like fun and woo anymore as the last book. And there's also all the little illustrations, like for example there, and the colour plates and everything, and the binding is the same. It's like the raw binding, which I really love. What I also really like about the books is that the writing is very far apart and quite big, so it's quite easy to read. So don't be intimidated by the thickness of the books because they are really, really quick to read. Obviously, I'm also going to get the third one of those books. I would have gotten it in the first place, but they didn't have all 3 books at the bookstore where I was. So yeah, but I definitely recommend those books. The lady in the bookstore said it was for children about the age of 10, but honestly I think people my age, like 17, 18, can read those as well because they are just amazing. The next book I read is this tiny little booklet right here. It's a drama by Arthur Miller and it's called The Death of a Salesman. And I had very high hopes for this book because I know it's quite well known, but honestly I was kind of disappointed, and I will admit I stopped like 3/4 of the way through because it was just, nothing really happened. I don't know. I just kept reading and reading and waiting for something to happen, something exciting, and it just never happened, so I just kind of put the book aside because it wasn't doing anything for me, to be honest. Maybe some people liked it, I didn't really. So that was all the books I read this month. I also started reading this one, Pillars of the Earth by Ken Follett. I hope to finish it next month and I'll keep you updated on this. Also, I'll probably be doing a book review on Wildwood because those are like my favourite holy grail books at the moment, so I'll keep you updated on that. And other than that, I hope you have a lovely day. Bye!